This is another Grim Dawn modding tutorial on terrain. We're just going to kind of do a couple random things here. So this plant here seemed to work really well with this terrain that it's sitting on. So we're going to do the Control-C, Control-V, copy-paste, and just put another one of those objects over here on the side. And then all of these circles here are just meant for rotation, so you can kind of flip and turn this however you need. And then the purple is to size it. So if we want it to be maybe a little bit bigger or smaller, we can use that as kind of the sizing tool on it. And this one I want it to be kind of upright, so about right there. And inside of here, some of the art assets like this are kind of an animation. So we're going to copy that as well, and we're going to add that over to a section over here on the side. So this is kind of by the starting area. So we're just going to apply that here and maybe kind of add that in the bottom. So that's just kind of a little activity going on. It's nice to have some of the animations along with the terrain on here. And then we're just going to kind of randomly go around. Now, I like to take spots where it seems like maybe there's not a whole lot going on. Like if you zoom in here and you see there's really not a whole lot in some of these areas, then you can kind of just go in and add stuff. So on here, we're going to go over to flora and to bushes, and then just kind of randomly add in a couple things that might work well for this. So this is more like a tree, even though it's considered as part of the bush assets in here. I'm going to grab something that's more kind of appropriate or something that matches this area a little bit, but this will help kind of show some examples. So that's some of the stuff that would typically kind of be over in this area. And then for some of these as well, I've added in a little bit of the kind of dirt and rock turning. So we're going to add a layer over here, and I'm going to try out a new one. And we're going to try maybe just some plants terrain and kind of see what we have with that. Now this one probably won't work at all, but we're going to go ahead and try this anyway. So it's added over here is this scattered. And actually that's not too bad. Now one thing you'll notice on here is that it went off because I went in between the different zone lines on here, and this zone section doesn't have that added. So that's poly branches scattered. So if we click over here and then add that same one in, I believe it was this one, then it will smooth, it'll transition right in between the two. So just make sure that it's set to both of those. That actually doesn't look too bad, but maybe that's not quite what we want. So you can just change this, and we can just test out different ones on here. So if we changed it to kind of see what it would look like with the different terrain textures. So that kind of works. I'm not really sure which one I really like. I usually take some with a little bit of less height to it, but some of those don't really work out too bad. That one's a little bit, I think, too colorful. So something like that actually I think works well, where you can see there's a little bit of a difference in the terrain, but it doesn't really stand out as much as this. So that's the giant brambles. So we'll take this side as well and then update that. To that, I believe, is the one. Okay, and then whenever you want to do it, I usually do this to where when I find something that I like and I want to save those changes, I just come in here and manually save. And then if I go in and make a few changes and it doesn't really turn out the way that I want, I can always just revert by closing this out and then opening it back up if I don't like what's going on there. So like on here, if we extend this out a little bit, and those branches actually kind of match the stuff that's there. Now I'm using Shift in order to do this. And if I let go of Shift and I just left click, it's going to kind of cut that back, where it's just removing that. And that one seems like it doesn't really have much of a base. Most of the time when you do that and you just left click, like I'll do an example here, is we'll add another one in here for one that I know that works that way. So we'll do, I think, it's under grass. So this green clumpy. If you just, oops, it didn't add that one more time here. And it seems like it does that on occasion. Not sure why that's not adding that. I am on this tile. Unless I already have it in here. That's why it's not doing that. So this one, if we left click, it's putting kind of a light terrain down for it. If you hold down Shift, it's going to apply more full size, so you can kind of mix those together and kind of do what you want. A lot of them have the option. And then if you, let's see, so Control is going to be deleting, just left click is placing light, and then Shift is placing that. So you just have to get used to those menus on what's going on, and be careful if you stack multiple terrains together, because there's some instances here, like if you start stacking it over this terrain, it does become complicated when you have multiple layers on. If you try to paint over it, you know what will cover up and what won't. And also on here, if we Shift click on here and do this, it's not, because it's not actually a terrain object, it's not painting over that, that's just a regular place object, so it handles that. But if you do that over something that is created more like this, it will start, oh, that's the wrong area. I got to do a section that's on here. So something like this. This will paint right over this terrain and put it on top of here. If you uncheck this, it will not do that. So we're not painting on terrain. So you have the option to do it on the terrain objects and on the terrain. So if you didn't want to cover this and have it stack over it, you could just prevent it from doing that. So most of the time, if you're doing that with stuff like this, you either want to avoid this area or just leave it on that. And then the easy way out of this, I really don't want all those changes that I just did. I'm just going to close this and then not save it. So I did save it according to those changes, and then go back to the editor. Open up the game world. And by default, we're on layout mode here, which is all the different tiles, and just switch to editor mode down here. And that's it for now. Just a little more information for you. Thanks.